So if you're thinking that you can't get paid more in a nonprofit sector, that is not true.
Mhm.
I think that the way that they decide to use the money is going to be different depending on who negotiates and who doesn't, or who
Sure.
they are choosing they want to pay more over other people.
And so you're saying each of the 6 of you had a different salary? And that it was like $1,000, $1,000, $1,000 of the difference between each one?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm Tine Zekas, your pivot and pay strategist. I help Black women double their income by leveraging their existing skills. I am all about getting Black women paid, whether you're an employee or a business owner. And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I am Tine Zekas, your pivot and pay strategist. I am so excited for today's episode because we have a guest here to speak with you all. And the reason I'm so excited is because often when I'm talking with clients or with Black women who are looking to increase their income, a lot of folks think that the only way to do that is to move into tech, right? That the only high paying jobs are in tech. The only way to dramatically increase your income is if you make a pivot into the tech industry. And today we're going to be talking with someone who has experience in negotiating in academia and in the nonprofit sector. This is so exciting to me because so many of us want to be doing work in these spaces where we really have a lot of impact, and a lot of people think you need to trade impact for salary, right? That you can't have both. And so we're here today to talk about how you can be doing that impactful work and getting paid to do it. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you all to Dr. Maya Williams. Dr. Maya Williams is a former professor who works remotely and holds degrees in Spanish and social work. In academia, Dr. Williams worked as a tenured track university professor for 2 years. She is a racial scholar who focuses on African American and Afro-Latin populations. Her work involved advocating for those populations to have equitable access to resources. Dr. Williams left this position to pursue her own business called Fly Like Me PhD, which you can find on YouTube. Thus far, she has traveled to every country in North and Central America and visited a total of 45 countries. She now encourages Black women to travel the world or live abroad. And so with that, I would love to welcome Dr. Maya Williams. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
I am so excited you're here. Thank you again for joining us and for agreeing to speak to our audience today.
No problem.
And so, I would love to start with your story in academia and in the nonprofit space. If you could tell us a little bit about, what your career has looked like, and then we can dig into what negotiating looked like in those spaces as well.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So, I've been a person that has worked in nonprofit sectors as well as worked in academia. And I have found that definitely you have to negotiate when you're in those spaces.
Mhm.
Um, my time within academia was just for 2 years that I was working as a university professor.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I have consistently worked in nonprofit sectors. I tend to work with students, so I've worked as like a student advisor. I've worked abroad helping students as like a tutor. I have also worked, right now I'm working as a data specialist at a nonprofit. So I have a lot of background information working with nonprofits
Mhm.
and just a limited experience working in the academy, but still can definitely speak to that experience as well.
Absolutely. And so, I guess I want to dig into the stuff, right? We want to know about what negotiating looks like in nonprofit, how you have approached those conversations, as well as any advice you have for those of us who are in the nonprofit space or who are thinking about moving into the nonprofit space and thinking, I don't know if I can afford to make that move.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, the first job that I ever had, working nonprofit as a student advisor, I remember there were 6 of us that came in at the same time. We had the same, job description. We were doing the exact same work, and I found out that all 6 of us were making $1,000 more than the other person. And we were completely shocked, thinking, how did we all get this exact same position and we're all getting paid different, 6 people? And that to me was the lesson that you could negotiate your salary. I had no idea. It was like my first job after college. So I just thought whatever the salary was what you had to take.
Right.
But the thing that I notice is that a lot of times they tend to lowball us, especially if we have more marginalized identities. So, being Black, being women, they tend to want to pay us the lowest that they possibly can while paying other people higher salaries. And so, after that moment, I learned that you can actually negotiate in a nonprofit. There was
Mhm.
an additional $8,000 between the 6 of us that they were choosing to give to some people and not choosing to give to others.
Wow.
So if you're thinking that you can't get paid more in a nonprofit sector, that is not true.
Mhm.
I think that the way that they decide to use the money is going to be different depending on who negotiates and who doesn't, or who
Sure.
they are choosing they want to pay more over other people.
And so you're saying each of the 6 of you had a different salary? And that it was like $1,000, $1,000, $1,000 of the difference between each one?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so, right, that could mean that, people each negotiated a different amount, but it also could mean some were offered a different amount.
Yes.
And that could be based on so many factors, right? If they think, "Oh, this person probably has other offers, or this person, has this experience and we think that it should be whatever," So yeah, there's wow, that's wild for 6 people to all have a different salary. And especially when a group comes in like that,
Yes.
it can make a lot of sense for you to assume, well, if it's 6 people all coming in at once, this is the rate. This is the
Yeah.
rate we're all getting. So 1, I understand why you didn't know that you couldn't negotiate, and 2, I'm so glad you took that lesson,
Yeah.
after going through that. And so what did you do differently moving forward, and what did that look like?
So after that, I made it up in my mind that I would negotiate no matter what. Every single job that I had after that, I will always negotiate.
Mm,
And one thing that I just want to say is that you can negotiate everything in the package. Maybe you don't necessarily get a higher salary, but you could get more on your PTO, or you could negotiate a way to get a more of a larger moving expense. Some jobs will give you like moving expenses. And so it doesn't always have to be salary. If you can just negotiate something in your package to be better, then you should. And
mm,
9 times out of 10, they are going to offer you the lowest possible that they can so that they can use that money for other things. And
right.
so you want to definitely make sure, if also it's possible, to do some research to see what they're already paying people that have that position, somebody that had that position before you,
Mhm,
or if another person is coming into the same position, to have conversations with them about what they're being offered as well. So
mm,
there's this big thing about it being taboo to talk about what we make, but that has been the key into understanding from this conversation right here. It is the key to understanding what these places are really paying people, is having
right.
conversations with people that are also coming in the same position.
Mm, I wanna you touched on so many things there, so I just wanna make sure I took it all in. So, one thing you covered, which we've talked about before on the podcast, is you can negotiate for more than just the salary, right? Additional PTO, that doesn't technically cost them anything, right, in terms of dollars. Um, a moving budget, right? That can that or what moving reimbursement or moving costs that can come from a different budget than their payroll budget, right? Tuition reimbursement, things of that nature. It's so important to remember that it's not just salary that you can negotiate. And then I also loved that you said it's every time, no matter what. Like, right, even if you're excited about the offer, it's still beneficial to negotiate because, as you said, most companies are not offering you their best and final offer at the first, at the first offer. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. Um, Another thing you touched on is research in terms of what they're paying other folks. I'm wondering how you go about that because to me that sounds like some sleuth detective work. Like I don't know, I don't know how I would start that process. So like what has that looked like?
Yeah. One thing I'll mention just based on something that you said before we move to that is that when we're talking about making sure that we get what we deserve in the position, and you had literally mentioned that it's not the best offer. There was an example with actually my mom. I helped to negotiate her salary. Or I motivated her to negotiate her salary. I wasn't there. Um, she said, this is a little low. Is there anything else you could do? And the person immediately was like, yeah, we could do more. Like, what did you need? And that to me really indicated that they already knew that they were going to pay her
Wow.
less. And so they were like, it's no problem. We don't even have to talk to anybody additionally because we know this is not
Wow.
the best offer. So you are right about that. They know that they're not giving you the best offer. And sometimes just in that conversation, they could change it.
That is wild because normally I would think, oh, the person I'm talking to isn't authorized to make any adjustments, but they went in there knowing, oh yeah, of course we could give you more. What do you need?
Exactly.
Wow, that's
Exactly.
wild.
So deceitful.
Oh,
Yeah,
that hurts my heart.
I
but I'm
know.
but I'm so glad that you encouraged her. And another thing I want folks to take from this podcast is that we got to be talking about this stuff, right? If each person who's listening to this not only negotiates their own salary every time, but also talks to other Black women and encourage them, the impact can be huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And back to your previous question about the research. So, a quick Google search, you literally can just type in the name of the company. You can see sometimes they have the payments for like different jobs that are at that company, maybe not the job you're looking for, or sometimes they'll have the job that you're looking for. And they will allow people, I think maybe on something like Glassdoor, sometimes they allow people to type in what their actual salary was at that job. So you can
Mhm.
just kind of understand, even if it's not necessarily your position, just seeing how much in general people are making at the company so that you're not making something that's like astronomically different than what everybody else is making at the
Right.
company. And then another thing is if you can research the people that have already worked there and have a conversation with them, or talk to the people that are currently there and have a conversation with them offline about what
Mhm.
they're making, or if you can find out the people that are also going to be in the same position as you at the same time and have a conversation with them. So back to the earlier example that I gave you all, two of the women already knew each other that were applying for the same
Mm.
position. So they talked to each other, found out what the other person was making, and advocated for themselves to make 1,000 and about 1,500 more. And they said
Right.
yes to that because they were already paying somebody else that exact salary.
Right. Right. Oh, that's such a good point. And I wouldn't have thought to go to the people who are currently at the organization, but if it's not your particular hiring manager, right? I can understand why people could be open to talking about that stuff. And I know that the money conversation can often be considered taboo. But so, for folks who are hesitant or who are nervous about having that conversation, what kind of advice would you give, first in terms of what does that reach out look like, where you are inviting them to that conversation, and then how do you approach the ask about pay?
Yeah. So No matter what, I have always been nervous. I need you all to know that. My hands are shaking all the time. I'm always afraid. I think if you have a script, that
Mhm.
can be helpful. You can practice it with yourself. You can practice it in the mirror of like exactly what you want to say. Remember that the likelihood of them rescinding your offer is very, very low. They already are interested in you. They
Mhm.
already want you. They've already given you an offer. Going through the process of finding people for a position is daunting. It is so much to do interviews and to get everybody on board and figure out schedules to doing interviews and things of that nature that they probably are not trying to go through that daunting process again. They want you. They
Mhm.
obviously offered it to you for a reason. And there is nothing wrong with advocating for yourself. If somebody doesn't want to hire you for advocating for yourself, this is probably not a place that you should want to be hired anyway.
Mm. Mm. I want to say that part again, right? If you advocating for yourself is something that is going to have them rescind the offer, that was not going to be a good environment for you to be working in. Because even in the day to day, as you try to advocate for yourself, hey, I need these resources to be able to perform my job in this way, or hey, we're really understaffed, right? If that's the way that they're going to respond to people advocating for themselves, then that is probably a blessing for them to cut you loose at that point.
Yeah,
But I know it doesn't feel that way when you're looking for the next thing, right?
it
So,
does not.
um, so you negotiated every time you were moving through this space. I'm wondering if we can get into academia and what negotiation looks like there. Because I know, at least for myself, I was in public education, and for that, it's like, the salaries are posted, right? This is what it
Yeah.
is. If you've had this amount of education and this many years, this is what you get. And so I'm wondering, in terms of academia, like how did you approach a per salary in that position?
Yeah, so if it is a public university, all of the salaries are going to be posted online. So this is again doing your research, finding out how much they're paying people. If it's private, then they will not be posted online. But if you can see it online, definitely look at that ahead of time. Like I said, writing a script is really good so that you can keep your talking points and know exactly what you want to say.
Mhm.
Another thing is never feel pressured to approve of an offer immediately. Always ask, can I get that in writing? Can you send that to me in an email? How much time do I have to think about this offer?
Mm.
Just give yourself a little bit of time, a little grace period to sit with something before you make such a huge decision and weigh that. When it comes to the academy, I feel that they tend to have some pretty good packages. They have a lot that they can offer you, right? They are getting tuition from students and they're getting money from donors. So, this is a place, really, if you want to advocate, this is where you can do that. And you
Mhm.
can advocate for everything that you see on in your package like you had talked about already, seeing if there is something for like tuition, seeing if there is something for moving expenses, seeing if there's something for PTO, seeing if there's something for salary. One
Mhm.
of the things when you open these conversations, you can say, if it's not salary, what can I negotiate? What can be negotiated in this package?
Mm.
You always want to thank people for the package that you've gotten. And you say, I'm really interested to know what else could be offered. This is a great package. I am very excited about this package. I just want to make sure that I'm getting all of the things that I could possibly be offered. What else do you think could be possible? What else have you offered people in this type of position? And
Mm.
sometimes just asking those questions could give you the answers that you need and could alleviate some of the stress. Maybe you don't necessarily feel that you're going in there and you're like, here are all the things that I want. And if I can't get this, I'm out. But you're just having a conversation with a person
Yeah.
and just seeing what can be offered.
Mm. I love that so much, and you really touched on a few things there as well. One is not to accept the offer in that first conversation. A lot of feelings can come up when you first hear that number, whatever it is. And so I actually find that it's helpful to go into even the offer conversation with not necessarily a script, but I have a thing I say every time, no matter what, right? It's, thank you so much for the offer. I am so excited. Can I get a list of the benefits in writing
Yes.
and get back to you? Right. And so it gets me off of that phone. So then I can go be in my feelings somewhere else. Right. And then I can realize, okay, even though this offer was more than I was expecting, here's still what I'm going to negotiate. Right. Instead of just, oh, wow, that was more than my target. Okay. Yes, please. When, somebody else negotiates and now they're getting paid more than you are. And I love that you approach it as a conversation as well, and even the idea of asking, what have you offered other folks? That is a really interesting question, because that gets at the heart of, they may not be offering us what they're offering other people, or other people have negotiated for things that we didn't think of.
Yeah.
So I love that. Wow. And so you have negotiated in the nonprofit space and in academia. And now you have moved on to entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit about Fly Like Me PhD and the work that you do there?
Yes, if you are interested in more information, just go to YouTube. You literally can type in Fly Like Me PhD, all lowercase, and you will find me. It should be the first thumbnail, little small picture of me on there. And I'll have more videos to come for you all. And yeah, I am just really interested in encouraging Black women to live abroad or to travel abroad. I think
Mhm.
that it's important for us to have this reprieve, to take some time away from grind culture, away from working all of the time, just to be free and see what else is out there. And
Mm.
so I just really, really want to encourage you all to do that. Yeah.
Well, and you have some experience in that regard, right? I mean, you've been to 45 countries, and did you have a specific goal of how many countries you eventually want to visit?
Yeah, I would like to go to all Spanish speaking countries. I'm also a Spanish speaker. And so my goal is just to see as much as I can. I think the world is such a beautiful place and there's so much that we can see out there. And there's a space for everyone out there. There's so
Mhm.
much to see, there's so much to do. So I just want to encourage people as much as possible to go out there. If you have additional questions, you can also email me at flylikemephd@gmail.com. So I am interested in talking with you all, connecting with you all, and hoping that we can continue to negotiate these salaries and get what we deserve.
Mm, that's amazing, right? And then once we're making that extra income, then, I always say that, the goal is not getting Black women paid. It's getting Black women paid so that
Yeah.
we can do these other things, right? And so for folks who are interested in traveling the world, that's going to start with, let's build up that income,
Yeah.
and then free up that time and money for things like travel. And I one thing I love about the videos that you do is that you give some really practical information for folks who, maybe they haven't traveled to a particular country or they don't know a lot about it yet, and you just really break things down in a way that makes it simple and less intimidating. And so, and you're coming from experience, right? Y'all, we're talking about 45 countries. So, you just bring an experience to it that is so valuable for us. And so I love the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for that. I also want to say, you're right. Getting Black women paid so that is such an important statement. The research has shown that Black women tend to leave millions of dollars on the table,
Yes.
millions of dollars on the
Hmm.
table. And so when you are entering those negotiation conversations, think about how much more work you're going to do compared to the people that already work at that job.
Mm-hmm.
Think of how much additional work they will ask you to do compared to the people working at that job.
Yep.
Think of your life and where you want to go and who you want to visit, where you want to travel. Think of who you have to take care of in your life. Think of what you need for yourself to
Mm.
take care of yourself. Be it a spa day, be it a manicure, be it a pedicure. Think about the additional things that you could do
Mm-hmm.
if you had the ideal salary that you want. When you walk into those conversations,
Yeah.
try and think about that. And that
Mm.
can maybe motivate you to have a difficult conversation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. I think that folks who are listening to this will be going into our conversations with, with those open eyes of, what's the reason that one, we deserve more, and why do we want it?
Yeah.
Right. So that we can, what is that thing for you that you would do if you had an extra $10,000 a year, an extra $20,000 a year? So I'm so glad that you are encouraging folks, and then you're helping show them what to do with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we will, of course, leave in the description your YouTube channel as well as your email so that folks can reach out to you. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing your knowledge with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. And together we can do this. You are amazing for taking this on because this is so crucial to our livelihood and our well being. So we thank you as well for advocating for us,
Mm.
even when we couldn't do it for ourselves.
Oh, I received that. I'm trying to get better at accepting accepting compliments and praise. So I appreciate you for saying that. And to all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to hit the notification bell so you can catch more episodes like this one. And join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Be sure to share this channel with the incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid. All right, we'll see you in the next one.